Today's geography lesson. We are continuing on with our topic of rivers and mountains, and today we're going to be doing a case study looking at the River Danube in Europe. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so that we can start today's lesson. Okay, so it is Monday the 1st of March, and we are examining a river from its source, which is where it begins, all the way to its mouth, which is where the river ends. By the end of this lesson, we will be able to locate the Danube on a map, and we will be able to describe the upper course, middle course, and lower course of the River Danube. Okay, we have looked at this river before, but we didn't look at it in detail. We were just looking at it, its location in Europe. So today we're going to look at it in detail. Okay, so, sorry, I've labeled this question number 2 and it's number 1. So the first thing we're going to do is have a quick recap quiz and see what you remember from last week's lesson and also from some previous units. Question number 1, name a river in London that is used to transport goods. Pause the video and name a river that is in London used to transport goods. Okay, hopefully you've worked out what the main river is. It is the River Thames, is the main river in London that is used to transport goods. Moving on, HEP or HEP is a type of energy created by rivers. What does HEP stand for? Is it hydroelectric power, B, high energy power, or C, hydro energy power? Pause the video to work that out. Okay, the answer, HEP, stands for hydroelectric power. We looked at that last week when we were talking about rivers and how humans engage with it to produce energy. Moving on to question number 3. Irrigation, again, this links in with last week's lesson. Irrigation is the A, drinking water from the River Thames. Is irrigation the supply of water to land or crops to help growth? Or C, the man-made waterway? Pause the video so that you can work that out. Irrigation is B, the supply of water to lands and crops to help growth. Question number 4. Now this links back to the very first lesson we did in geography. What is the capital city of Portugal? Is it A, Faro, B, Porto, or C, Lisbon? What is the capital city of Portugal? Pause the video to answer the question. The answer is C, Lisbon is the capital city of Portugal. Question number 5. Name one advantage that bronze has over iron. So can you name one advantage that bronze has over iron? Pause the video to do that now. There are lots of different advantages, and here are a few. Tin and copper are easy to find, so when you're making bronze, the resources you need are easy to find. Bronze can be recycled. Bronze can also be smelted over fire, whereas iron requires a very hot furnace, not hot furnace. Bronze also does not rust, whereas iron does. It rusts very easily. Okay, so if you had any of those answers, then you got that question right. So here is some key vocabulary that we are going to be using today. The first one is source. Source. And a source is the place where the river starts. Okay. We also have mouth, which is the place where the river ends, and the river ends by entering the sea. So you can see here the river comes, this is in its lower course, and it comes and it meets the sea, and that's where the river ends. So the source is where it begins, the mouth is where it ends and meets the sea. You also have delta. Now delta, which is landform created by deposited load. So rivers carry lots of sediment, lots of dirt, lots of small rocks, and it can create landform from all the deposits that the river has. Okay, moving on. So we are looking at the River Danube today. The River Danube is the second longest river in Europe, starting in Germany's Black Forest and entering into the Black Sea, which is in Romania. So you can see on the map that it starts all the way here, and the Black Forest would be here. And it travels along, it has lots of different branches and lots of other lakes that join into it. And it finally, its mouth is in the Black Sea, which is where it meets the sea. So I'm going to show you a video very quickly of the River Danube, its source, which is in the Black Forest, and its mouth. Okay, so let me just open that up. And I'm just going to reshare my screen so that you can see this video. Okay. This is the source. This is where the river starts, and this is the Black Forest. Fantastic. Okay, we're going to stop there. So you've got a very, very quick idea of what it looks like, the source of the river. Let's go back to our slides. I'm also going to show you the river's mouth, which is in the Black Sea. Now, this is where the River Danube ends. So this is where it meets the sea. So let me just show you its mouth. Bear with me whilst I just get that loaded. And let me reshare my screen so you can see that. This is the River Danube's mouth, where it enters the Black Sea. You can see we're in the lower course of the river. You can see the Black Sea ahead. And we're just waiting for the River Danube to meet and enter the sea. It's still going. Okay. And right over there, you can see where it's entering the sea. Fantastic. Right, let me reshare my screen and go back to our slides. So we are going to be examining the River Danube all the way from its source to the mouth. Now, the River Danube, as we know, starts in Germany's Black Forest and ends in the Black Sea in Romania. The Danube flows through 10 countries on its route, including Germany, Austria, Slovakia, Hungary, Croatia, Serbia, Bulgaria, Romania, Moldova, and Ukraine. Its characteristics change from its upper course to its lower course. So it changes, the river changes, its flow, its current changes, the river bed changes, and it widens as it goes through its courses. Now, the Danube River is the second longest river in Europe. For hundreds of years, it has been an important route for trade and travel. Now, last week we looked at rivers, how they can be used for travel and trade. So they're bringing in goods in through the river and they're trading those goods. Throughout the Central and Southeastern Europe. The castles and fortresses along the riverbanks were once protected great empires. Some of them now draw tourists to the area, and that's good for tourism, which is one of our keywords from a few weeks ago in reading. So if you were to go and visit the River Danube, you would see Buda Castle, which is in Budapest, and that once protected great empires. So we're going to have a look now at the River Danube. Let's start from its source. So before we do, I have a map. Now, what I want you to do, I've put task 1, although you're not doing this now, as I'm talking to you about the River Danube and showing you its upper course, middle course, lower course, I want you to be labeling it on this map. If you have a printer at home, you can print this out. If you don't, then what you're going to need to do is identify whether the River Danube would be on this map. So you're going to have to come back to this screen and identify where the upper course is, then the middle course, then the lower course after I have spoken about it. Okay, so I can make it a little bit bigger for you. So if you don't have a printer, you can do that using this screen. Okay, otherwise get it ready because we're going to go through them now. So let's start with the upper course. The upper course springs as 2 small streams in the Black Forest in Germany and flows through to a gorge called Devon Gate. Okay, now Devon Gate is in the Austrian Alps in Hungary. It's composed of very narrow rocky beds and fast-flowing rivers. So if you to see the upper course of the River Danube, you see the river is very fast And you know this because it's white water. White water is when the river's flowing very fast and the water appears white. And it's very rocky. Here you can see it's some rocky. This is its source. So compared to the middle and lower stretches of the river, the upper Danube has been significantly modified. That means it's changed over time. And the reason being is because 59 of the 62 dams on the Danube are in the upper course. So only very few stretches are free flowing. They've put lots of dams to control the water and where it goes. And that's why it's been modified. Remember last week we looked at dams and how they change the course of the flowing water. Okay, so that's the upper course. If you have the map, then I would like you to label the upper course of the River Danube on your map. If you don't, then you need to go back to the slide, which I'm on it now for you, and you can identify where the upper course would be. Okay, let's move on to the middle course. So the middle course runs all the way from Devon Gates, and you can see here's a picture of Devon Gates, which is in the Austrian Alps. And it runs all the way to the Iron Gate, which is in the Romanian mountains, very south Romania. So if you go back to the upper course, we can see the upper course is here. And the middle course, you can see, has now traveled quite far along to the Romanian mountains. Now, in its middle course, which is in Serbia and Romania, the Danube looks more like flatland river with low banks and a bed that reaches a width of more than 1 mile. So you can see, you probably can't see, but this river is very wide now. It expands in its middle course. It gets a lot wider and the current starts to flow more slowly. And this is one, because it has more space to travel, but also because the banks are lower. Okay, so here is where the middle course would be. You can see I've circled it. So what I would like you to do now is pause the video on this slide, go back to your map and label where the middle course would be. Fantastic. And now we're going to go to the lower course. Now, the lower course of the Danube, which now flows from the Iron Gate, which is where it ended in the middle course, which is in the southern Romanian mountains, and goes all the way to the Black Sea. Now, it's quite similar to most lower courses of rivers because it flows into a sea. In its lower course, which is in Bulgaria and Romania, the river flows across a wider plain. The river becomes wider and shallower, and its currents slow down. So the river becomes even wider than it was in its middle course. You remember in its upper course, it was very fast flowing river with white water. As it reached the middle course, it started to expand. The riverbeds became lower and the river became wider, almost a mile long. Now it's in its lower course, it's even wider. It's its widest and it's its slowest. Okay, think of it like an old person. So when it's a baby, it's got and a child, it's got lots of energy to burn. As it becomes an adult, it slows down a bit. Now it's an elderly person. It's very slow and it's ready to flow into the sea. So before the river flows into the Black Sea, it forms a huge delta. And remember, delta is one of our key words, and that's landform caused by deposited loads. So all the rocks and dirt and sediment that was in the river is now been deposited on land. Okay, so the river becomes a lot wider and shallower. And you can see because it looks very still. If you look at the picture, it looks very, very still and calm. And that's what happens in its lower course. I'm just going to circle. Here is the River Danube in its lower course. And you can see here is the Black Sea where the river's mouth is. This is where it enters the Black Sea. Okay, what I would like you to do now is just to go back to this slide. If you have your map, then label the lower course on the map. And if you do not, then you can use the slide and just point to where it would be. Or you can screenshot it and circle it on the screenshot. Fantastic. Okay. Now for your next task. Your next task, you have a sheet that looks like this. You have got to complete a fact file below on the River Danube and each of its stages. So I've got the first stage here. And this first stage I know is going to be called, what course is it called? Is it upper, middle or lower? What's the first course of a river? I know it's upper. So I'm going to call it upper course, and I'm just going to put that there. And I've just got to say, where does the river start? I've got to answer these questions. What countries does it flow through? How fast / how deep is it? So I'm going to say the source, I'm going to use a key word of the, I'm going to do capital letter, river. Danube needs a capital letter, please. This is a proper noun. The source of the river Danube is in the Black, capital letter, forest. I'm going to put comma, Germany. So I've answered the first question. Next question, what countries does it flow through? So where does the, when it's in its upper course, what countries does the river Danube flow through in its upper course? So now I've got to go, I can go back to my slides and answer that question. So let me just, now I know it flows all the way to the Austrian Alps, which is in Hungary. So I'm going to say it flows through the Alps. And I'm just going to say it passes Hungary. And I can also go back to my map and use my map to help me as well. If my river Danube starts in Germany's Black Forest and it flows all the way to Hungary, can you see what countries it's passing? So I can see it passes Slovenia and Croatia. So it started in Germany's Black Forest and it's passing these countries. So I'm also going to say it passes Slovenia and Croatia. I'll just make my writing a little bit smaller. Hungary, Slovenia, and Croatia. And I'm just going to make this a little bit higher. Fantastic. And how fast or deep is it? In its upper course, the river, capital letter, Miss Williams, Danube, flows very fast. Stop. Okay, I'm just going to read that back to myself, make sure that I'm happy with it, and then it makes sense. The source of the river Danube is in the Black Forest, Germany. It flows through the Austrian Alps and passes Hungary, Slovenia, and Croatia. In its upper course, the river Danube flows very fast. Okay, so just like that, you are going to complete it, but you need to do it for the upper course, middle course, and the lower course of the river Danube. Okay, if you have the sheet, you can do it on the sheet. Otherwise, just write it down on a spare piece of paper and then upload it onto Seesaw. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that lesson. Can't wait to see your work on Seesaw Year 3. Well done. Bye.